The first thing that strikes a Western reader when they read the Quran is the anachronisms that we find throughout the Quran. For instance, we are told in the Quran, in Surah 28 and verse 38, we find that Haman was living in Egypt during the time of Moses, and that he was working for Pharaoh, at which time he was also helping to construct the Tower of Babel. Now, we got a serious chronological problem here, because Haman lived 1,000 years later in the Persian kingdom. He appears in the book of Esther. The Quran has him in the days of Moses, which is 1400 BC, at which time he's building the Tower of Babel, which was an event that took place at least centuries before Moses. Now, the Muslim apologists will say, well, no, this is just a different Haman. This isn't the same Haman that we find in the book of Esther. This is another Haman. But the problem with that is the name Haman is Persian. It's not Egyptian. What is a Persian person doing by the name of Haman, a very central figure in the book of Esther, working alongside a Pharaoh in Egypt? And what is he doing building the Tower of Babel, which was an event that occurred before Moses, in fact, before Abraham? And then we have in Surah 7, verse 124, the Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, having opponents crucified. Now, the problem with this is that crucifixion was not practiced by the Egyptians. Crucifixion was something that was introduced by the Phoenicians and much later picked up by the Romans, who used it as a form of execution. Another historical problem that we find in the Quran is the fact that the mother of Jesus, Maryam, is referred to in the Quran, Surah 19, verse 28, Surah 66, verse 12, Surah 20, verses 25 to 30. Maryam is called in the Quran the sister of Harun, the sister of Aaron, the daughter of Imran. Now, Christian scholars caught this right away, and some of them confronted Muhammad about that and asked him and said, why do you call Maryam the sister of Aaron? Now, you see, the problem with this, folks, is Muhammad assumed that Maryam, the mother of Jesus, was the same Maryam mentioned in the Old Testament, who was the sister of Moses and Aaron, who was also the daughter of Imran. So what we have here is a serious problem. Now, Muhammad simply responded and said, well, the reason why they call her sister of Aaron is that was, in the old days, the Jewish people would refer to people by the names of holy people, and they would give them, to show familial ties, they would say, they are the sister of so-and-so, the brother of so-and-so. But that's a problem, because the Jews did not refer to people as siblings, but as descendants. So people would be called, for instance, Isaac, the son of Abraham, Jacob, the son of Isaac, Isa ibn Maryam, Jesus, the son of Mary. They would refer to them as either sons or daughters of various ancestors, like Abraham, Isaac, or Jacob. But what makes the matter worse is that Maryam is called the daughter of Imran, which is the Arabic word for Amram, who was the father of Moses and Aaron, who lived 1,400 years before Jesus and Mary. We got some serious historical problems here in this regard. We also know that the Quran tells us in Surah 105, it's recording a battle that took place at Arabah. It talks about an elephant army of Arabah being defeated by birds dropping stones of baked clay upon the soldiers. According to historical fact, we know from Professor Gualum that what happened here was in fact an attack of smallpox that broke out among the soldiers. We're also told in the Quran, in Surah 20 and verse 87 to 95, that as the Jews are in the wilderness and they rebel against God and they build a golden calf, we're told in that surah that they built the golden calf at the suggestions of Samari. A Samari is a Samaritan. And the problem with this is, what is a Samaritan doing in the wilderness with the children of Israel when the Samaritans never appeared in history until at least 722 BC? And Moses is 1400 BC. We got a 700-year gap going on here. Another problem that we have is the fact that the Quran says that Zulqarnain, Alexander the Great, was a Muslim, and that he worshipped Allah, the one true God. In fact, Yusuf Ali tells us, quote, I have not the least doubt that Zulqarnain is meant to be Alexander the Great. But the problem with this, folks, is that we know from Greco-Roman sources that Alexander the Great was definitely not a Muslim. Alexander the Great, Zulqarnain, was actually a polytheist, a pagan, a sodomite, and he claimed to be the son of the Egyptian god Amun. Certainly not the characteristics of a Muslim.